how your father got authorization to negotiate on the name of the Zionist
There
movement?
was a committee. It was a committee connected.
The Freeland League.
What?
He was sent by the Freeland League.
Freeland group, Tachon.
And he had many letters of reference. One of them was written by Albert Einstein.
Wow.
And he negotiated with the
He
authority
went
in
through
London.
China, he went through, and he traveled, but he went also to Africa, because first they was not thinking about Australia. They were thinking about Africa, other places. I don't have a memory for names, you know.
But why they decided Kimberley in Australia? Why Kimberley?
Because it was the furthest place from any civilization, so that the Jews
can live there and
in
work.
Yiddish. Because at that time, you know, my father knew German, and he knew languages. He was an educated sort of a Galicianer, a real Galicianer, you know. But he had a sense of humor as well. There was a certain childishness in him, but in the poems, there's a lot of sadness and misery. And we lived very poor.
You have a sister still in Australia?
Yes, she fell. She's 97.
She's older than you are.
Yeah, 3 years older. Ruth.
Yes.
Do you have other brothers?
She is in
I had no
Melbourne.
other brothers.
When you arrived to Australia, well, I understand that you wanted to create a Jewish state. That was your father's hope, and this was the farthest place.
But my father also knew that Hitler is coming. He was a good friend of Ulrich Greenberg, and he went to Germany. It was exactly the time when Nazism starts developing in Germany. He knew what's going to happen.
Father brought the family from Warsaw there.
I was 16 and a half.
16 and a half.
But my sister went there earlier.
And she's 3 years older than you.
That's right.
And this is your only
And
sister.
we are still in touch,
Yeah.
and we talk on the telephone.
What was your first memory when you arrived in Australia? Now, your hope was to build a Jewish state. Was this, what do you remember?
I was not so much involved in the Jewish
Your
state.
father.
All I knew that Father is saving us, because already in Poland we felt this anti-Semitism and the hatred to Jews. In the university, the Jewish students had to sit separate. Anti-Semitism was eating me. So I left Australia. The funniest thing was that when there was a beggar there in Sydney, I want to give him already some penny. But I heard that other Australians say thank you. The one that gives the beggar used to say thank you. Because it's a mitzvah, you know.
Yes. And you were a young man, you were in high school still, and you joined the army, yes?
I was not naturalized yet. So they took me to a working unit. I was there 4.5 years. And there was Frankie Klepner. And he was a Yeke. But he didn't know that I'm a Yeke too. He was born in Vienna. So I called him, of course, Yeke Potts. Then he went to work in the office in the army, and he saw that I was born in Vienna. He came out happy. He said, we became great friends, and he wrote a book about me.
Wow.
About the connection of... the point is that I was a stranger. Some painters were anti-Semites, and they said...
In Australia?
In Australia.
Yeah.
And they said that Jew from Poland is painting our Aborigines. I painted them as I saw them.
They felt it was intrusive, that you were invading their territory, so to speak, as a Jew from Europe living in Australia and working in Australia. They resented you. The artists.
The Australians.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I had another group, all communists, all intellectuals, drinking in one pub, the Swanson family, which belonged to a Jew, of course, and there was a violin maker, Bill Dolphin, and that was a center. And there was a man called Pat Stanley. He was very tall, very rich, Irishman, and he was not against Zionists. He used to say the Jews need a place where to put their weary heads. But he used to buy a painting from me every month, give me back the painting, and next month he bought the same painting. And like this he kept me for a year. But all this was done in terrific drinking.
I imagine it was. Yeah, it must have been reassuring to have someone to go to a pub with when you're a stranger in a very strange place. Were there a lot of Jews living in Australia?
Yes, there were quite a lot of Jews already.
Do you have an estimate? Do you remember, like whether
How many?
1,000? Okay, but did it seem to you impractical? Like it could not really be.
Well, I worked in a factory of socks. My father found me a job. I had to work, and there the girls were singing in the moonlight in the chapel. It's a love song.
Yeah.
So I sang the song too. I had to look after 5 machines, and I forgot about the socks. I spoiled a whole day of socks, and so they kicked me out of the factory.
So this was your first job.
But then I had another job on the roof, putting in bricks. But I saw it was in the Jewish district. I looked down and said, "Oh, boyish." He said, "What are you doing on the roof?" You know, everything had that helped me. Then I worked the market. And
when was it that you found yourself as a true artist? When you began painting or sculpting?
I went to the big library. The art school was near the library, and of course I was reading Van Gogh. Van Gogh was my hero. I already knew. In Australia, they didn't know so much. I brought in a bit of painting that they didn't know.